All right, are we live? Can we see each other? Can you hear me? I don't know if this works. Please, if you can see me, if you can hear me, give me a sign. This is my first time doing a live stream. I have no idea if this works whatsoever. I wish I had an intern that I can yell at in case this doesn't work, but right now I have only myself to yell. But if you're existing, if you're out there in the world, if you can see my message, just let me know. That would be awesome. That would be great. And we are going to do this. I can see already that there's some people in here. About 5 people more than I thought they would be here, which is 0. Good, 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 good. Hello, everybody. Do we see each other? Do we hear each other? I got a thumbs up from my secret producer. And it's time to get this show going. It's been ages since I've been on the YouTubes. As you know, you probably have heard too much about it, but I had the craziest week in Los Angeles. I want to talk about it so much. There's so many things that happened, so many exciting things. I mean, look at this. Look at this. I came home with a suitcase full of cool stuff from there, and I'll show you all about it. That was violent. I need to calm down for a second. But I tried to even prepare a little agenda for us. We're going to talk about who invited me there, how did I even get to go to Los Angeles, which was, again, the opportunity of a lifetime, the best trip I could have possibly wanted. We're going to talk about the film studios that I got to visit. Then the coolest story, the highlight of the whole trip was meeting Ohanian, the producer from Sinners, which is currently the biggest movie in the world. It was the most surreal thing that could have possibly happened. And just wait until we get there. Then we're going to talk about YouTubers and YouTube, because I also got to meet some awesome YouTubers that I've been watching forever, that got to give me some advice on my channel. I got to network a bunch, which was awesome. And then there's even a little surprise at the end. If there's some of you who watch towards the end, I don't know, maybe you could win some free stuff. And who doesn't win? Who doesn't win? I don't win. But who doesn't like free stuff? I'm sure that we all like free stuff, right? With that being said, I'm going to go right into it. And please ask me questions throughout. This would be awesome if it's interactive, if we get to have a little bit of a conversation. I would love to answer questions. I would love to discuss things. I would love to expand on things. And we could even talk about the upcoming video that I'm working on, that is one of the most exciting videos that I think I've done in a long time for the channel. It's going to be awesome. So very much looking forward to that. Let's have some fun. Let me calm down. Let me drink a little bit of water. That was very professional, I'm sure. And let's get right into it. Let's explore Hollywood together. Let's get to the good stuff. And first of all, how did I even get there? Look at me. How did this guy get to Los Angeles, to Hollywood, something that I've always wanted to do, but couldn't quite do yet? It was always on my roadmap. It was always on my wish list. It was always on whatever you want to call it, vision boards, mood boards, anything. It was not the time yet. So I got there because I was invited to go there. Someone actually flew me in there, which made the trip even that much more awesome. So basically what happened is that there's this company called Spotter, which is a YouTube company, and they have a YouTube software which helps YouTubers, professional YouTubers, with titles and thumbnails and brainstorming. And they're also an investment fund for YouTubers. They do a bunch of cool stuff, and they work with some of the biggest YouTubers in the world. And about a month ago, they started a contest which was all about ideas, all about good ideas, in which you had to submit an idea for a YouTube video. And let me tell you something. I have hundreds of ideas for YouTube videos. I will never run dry on ideas. So I saw this as a good opportunity to try my luck. I had absolutely no expectations that I would win this, because not only hundreds, but probably thousands of people applied for it. And it wasn't limited to small YouTubers or big YouTubers. Everyone could apply as long as they had a YouTube channel. So as you can imagine, the competition was huge. But nonetheless, I looked at my very long idea list and I picked one that I think was a good balance between realistic idea that I actually want to do and that I'm actually excited about, and an idea that would excite them, an idea that was sort of, at least I hope, original, an idea that was something that you haven't really seen before in my niche. And in early March, I submitted it, and that was about it. I forgot about it. All I had to do was to write the title of my video, to create a mock thumbnail, and then basically pitch it. It's almost like if you're pitching a movie to a studio. And I wrote a little pitch about my idea, and that was about it. So with basically no hopes of me winning, because as you can see on my YouTube channel, if there's some of you who have been watching my videos for a while, it is just in the past few months that my YouTube channel is sort of picking up momentum. And for the longest time, I haven't really managed to crack the code. I have always focused on the videos themselves. I have always focused on telling a story and creating a good content. But when it came to the other part of YouTube, which is how you package your videos and how you're being smart about your titles and thumbnails, someone said how you have 2 viewers. Well, listen, I'm happy for 2 viewers because that's 2 more people than I expected. So I'm very happy about that. And the good thing about this live stream is that it is going to be recorded, and then afterwards it will be basically a YouTube video that will be living on the channel forever. So I am almost recording live right now. But it is also a little bit of testing the waters, because I have been planning a little bit of something to do with live streaming. So I just want to see, how is the software working? How do we like it? If this is something that I should experiment a little bit more with. So it's a little bit of both. But thank you for being here, Abhoy. I hope that's how I say your name. Very cool name. Thank you for being here. Honestly, this is going to be worth it. At least I hope so, because it is one of the most exciting stories ever, especially to do with movies. Yes. Good. Not good about the comment, but I'm just moving on. So as you can see in my channel, we're just sort of starting to pick up speed and a little bit of momentum. I had no expectations that I would ever get anything even close to winning this contest. But lo and behold, one night I get this email. And as you can see, the title is quite something. You're a winner. Let's get you to the Spotter Studio Idea Summit in Los Angeles. I cannot tell you what it felt like reading this title. That was absolutely outrageous and unbelievable. I got this email on the 8th of April. And to make it even sweeter, as it wasn't sweet enough already, you can see that I've been picked by one of their 3 YouTube experts. In particular, we're going to get a little bit into that, by Colin and Samir. And those are YouTubers that I've been watching for years. They have looked at all the submissions, and they have seen my idea, and they have thought it's a good idea, perhaps. They've looked at my channel, maybe they've seen a little bit of potential, and they picked me among 8 other people from around the world. And they were going to fly me to Los Angeles on the 24th of April. And the best part, you can see in the bottom, all paid for. I mean, come on, who doesn't like a all expenses paid trip? That was going to be amazing. I was all over the moon. This was the greatest thing to ever happen, not only because I would go to Los Angeles as a film fan, as someone who loves movies. To go to Los Angeles is something that I'm sure a lot of people dream about, people who are into movies. But then the people who selected me are YouTubers that I have a lot of respect for. As I said, I've been watching them for years, probably close to 6, maybe even 7 years. And their YouTube channel, they have 1.5 million subscribers. It's all about creators. It's about giving advice about how to navigate the creator economy, how to get smarter about your YouTube thumbnails and titles and the business side of things. And they've collaborated with the biggest YouTubers in the world. They're very, very respected in the industry. And I personally have a lot of respect for them. So just to be those two people that I have watched for so long acknowledge me and validate me in such an incredible manner was absolutely surreal. Because all things considered, I'm relatively new to the whole YouTube thing. I've been doing it for a long time, but I'm very early on in my career, if you really think about it. I've been trying to do YouTube for 10 years. I've been working on Tony's Film Club for 3 years, and I've been really working on it maybe in the past year. And it is only in the past few months that it's been taking off, sort of. So all things considered, to get that kind of validation that early on was absolutely game-changing. But now we're getting to the juicy bit of the story, because there's a big but. Someone asked me, what is my favorite movie? Now, to ask someone who likes movies what is their favorite movies is definitely a tricky question. I would say that the answer changes, depends on when you ask me, but I don't like when people say that, so I'll still tell you a few of my Hall of Fame movies. Let me think for a second. If I have to pick 3 or maybe 4 movies that I really like, one would be Airplane, because that is the essence of my sense of humor. I think it's the funniest movie ever made. I made a video about why I think it's the funniest movie ever made, and I just think it is a timeless classic. So Airplane is definitely on my Hall of Fame. I would say the French movie called The Intouchables is a movie I think often when I think about one of my favorite movies. It is definitely a really well-made story. It's not that much about bells and whistles. It's not about cinematography or some crazy sound editing or anything like that. It's just about a really, really good story. Let's do 2 more. Let's do the letterboxed thing. What would 2 other movies be? Oh, this is hard. I would say maybe, I have to say Goodfellas. I mean, I have to have a Martin Scorsese film in there. Definitely Goodfellas would be up there. And to finish it off, let's do something. Now I'm going to sound all pretentious. I like silent films. No one watches silent films for fun. But out of principle, I would also say 1 Week by Buster Keaton. It is a very short silent film from the 1920s. And every time I recommend to someone who have never seen a silent film before and doesn't care about silent films, I always tell them to watch that one first, because it is absolutely incredible. Very difficult question. I hope I gave a sort of satisfactory answer. And now we're getting to the juicy stuff, because congratulations, you won a trip to America. You're going to the States. You're going to meet those incredible people. And we're not even gotten yet to meeting Seth Ohanian, the producers of Sinners and so many amazing movies. Basically the trip of a lifetime. But the but is coming here, because let's look at the calendar, okay? And I'm not proud of this story, but I have to tell it. So if this is the timeline of April last month, this is when we get the good news. The 8th of April, we get the nice email that we have won and we're going to Los Angeles. I asked the very nice people at Spotter if I could arrive in America a few days earlier, because I was supposed to be there only for 3 days, and I'm traveling from Denmark, which is a very long flight. I have never flown such a long flight before. I've never been to America. So I asked if I could go a few days earlier so I could explore a little bit, visit a bunch of things which we'll be talking about now. And they said yes. Very nice of them. They changed my ticket, and they basically allowed me to go a few days earlier. So that means that I was supposed to travel on the 20th. And on the 24th is when this YouTube mastermind, networking, mentorship workshop is going to happen. So on the 8th of April, I received the great news. I'm supposed to fly on the 20th of April, and I'm supposed to fly back on the 25th of April. Good. If you're not an idiot, because of my own idiocracy, I barely made it. I could have so easily not went, and my heart would have been broken to 1,000 pieces. And the fact that I managed to go is nothing short of a miracle. I promise you, this is 100% true story. So here's what happened. I get the news on the 8th. On the 9th, I am happy. I was filming something. I did not tell people because I did not want to jinx it, but life is good. On the 10th, same thing. I am very excited. I still haven't really told anyone about it. Life is good. And at this point, I basically have to fly in about a week and a half. And throughout those 2 days, I only told a few select people about it, and they all had the same question. What about a visa? Do you need a visa? And I go, I'm being flown by a company. They're sorting everything out. I don't know. I'm fine. I did not even consider needing a visa. I don't know what happened to me. I don't know why I'm such an idiot, but I did not even think I need a visa. So 2 days pass by and life is good until Friday the 11th comes. And I think to myself in the evening, you know what? Maybe I should look into this whole visa thing, right? I do a quick Google search, and I live in Denmark. As it looks, you don't need a big visa from Denmark, but there's some sort of arrangement between America and Denmark, and you only need to apply online, and then in 24 hours or something, you get an email, you're sorted. Great stuff, except it's for Danish citizens. And I live in Denmark. I have permanent residence here. I'm even applying for Danish citizenship now, but I'm not a Danish citizen. Maybe you may know or not, but I come from Bulgaria. And citizens of Bulgaria very much so need a visa. They need a proper visa to go to America. And on average, it takes about a month to a month and a half to get a visa. If anyone of you has gone through the process of trying to get a visa, you probably know what I'm talking about. It takes on average a month to maybe even 2 months. And as you can see by my calendar here, I was supposed to fly the week after. So my chances were slim to none, to say the least. At this point, I start to panic, but nonetheless, I apply for the visa. I go to the website, I do all the things I need to do. I basically spent an hour and a half doing all the applications, answering all the questions. I do all of that. And then it really hit me that it is not just that you need to apply online. Then you have to book an actual physical interview in the Embassy of America in Denmark. You need to go there. You need to give them your passport, you need to pass the interview, you need to get approved for the visa, they need to keep your passport, and then they need to print the physical visa in the passport, and then they need to send you the passport back. This is things that takes weeks, it takes months. And I was supposed to fly I was supposed to fly in 10 days. And it did not look good. My chances did not look great. I admit, at this point, I was very defeated. Because on this Friday evening, so nothing was even opened, when I went to the website and I tried to find an actual spot for an interview, the first available interview was in May. The first available interview was in May. And at this point, I was just so defeated. And my plan was not great, but what I thought is that I'm going to wait for the weekend to pass. And then Monday morning, 9 a.m., first thing in the morning is that I call the embassy and I basically, I don't know, beg. I just say what it is and ask if there's anything that I can do. This happens. Monday the 14th comes, less than a week that I'm supposed to go. I call the embassy. They're very understandable, very nice. And they ask me, do you have a family emergency? Do you have a medical emergency? None of those, which I have. So basically she tells me, yeah, I don't really know what to do for you. You just try to book a meeting and hope for the best. Go on the website, even though it's in May, book it and then see if there's some option to try to expedite it. But the chances were not really good. At this point, even more defeated, I go on the website and the first miracle out of 3 happens. As I go onto the website, the last time when the first available meeting was in May, it turns out that for whatever reason, a meeting window just opened for the day after, for Tuesday in the morning, which the chances of that are just, I don't even know what the mathematical chances of that are, but they're not very big. So I booked the meeting immediately, and I don't know how this space opened. My friend likes to joke that my guardian angel must have ruined someone else's plans, so they have to cancel, just so I get that one little spot in the morning of the day after. I don't know what it is, but that's the first out of 3 very important things that had to happen for me to get that visa. Well, spoiler alert, I did get the visa. But Tuesday comes in, I go to the office, and I basically realize that it is the Easter weekend in Denmark. The one week where in Denmark, half of the week is holiday, is the Easter holiday, and that's the exact holiday that I need the visa. So as I was already short on time, I had even less time to get the visa. And I continued to be very much crushed, but I go for the meeting in the embassy on Tuesday, and I brought all the emails, I brought all the plane tickets, and I was basically shaking when I walked in. And luckily, the lady was incredibly understanding, and she said, listen, I get it. This is a big deal. This is important. Well, it's a big deal for you. I don't think anyone else cares, to be fair. But she was incredibly understanding. So she told me that my visa is approved, and she will do whatever she can to see if she can get it done in time. But realistically, I only had 24 hours for my passport to go to wherever they print the visas, for the visa to be printed, and then for me to receive my passport back before everything, the entire country shuts down for Easter. Not great chances. She was honest with me. She was like, I don't get your hopes up. Really don't get your hopes up. And the deal was that if I was to get my passport with the visa, it was going to happen in the only available day, here you can see in the calendar, before noon. I had to go to a special post office where people get their visas, And if I get a call notification by noon, I get it. If I don't, I don't. And I have to write a very sad email to the people in Los Angeles who already bought the tickets. It was already a done deal. They booked all the hotels. They booked all the meetings, the tickets. So in their eyes, I'm going. And in my eyes, I have a very small chance of going. But I did not want to say it yet. So I was very much on the edge of if it's going to happen or not. So the day after comes, and 11 o'clock hits, I hear nothing. 12 hits, nothing. 1 p.m. hits, nothing. And at this point, I'm crushed. I am trying to already brainstorm what is it going to be, that email that I have to send, until at 1:30, I get a call, and it is someone from the embassy, and she just says, Toni, come immediately to the embassy, get your passport with a visa now, because we're shutting down for the holidays. I run towards the embassy. I catch the metro here in Copenhagen. And because it's the Easter holidays, it's empty. And she made it very clear. She said, bring your Bulgarian ID with you, because otherwise security will not let you in. So I make sure I grab my wallet. I put it in my pocket. And I run towards the metro. I catch the metro. I go to the station next to the embassy. I basically run together with my girlfriend who is with me. And as we're about to get out of the station, someone taps me on the shoulder. And I turn around, and it's just some guy who says, you dropped this. My wallet with my Bulgarian ID, with my bank cards, with everything. I'm telling you, at this point, I almost passed out. I saw the light at the end of the tunnel. I was basically done with so much stress. Just think about if I went through all these things and I finally managed to get the visa and I go there and they're like, all right, miracle happened. You finally get your visa. Just show us your ID and you go and get it, boy, and run to America. And I tap my pockets and I've lost my ID. I'm telling you, I cannot possibly imagine what could have happened. And the thing is that the whole metro was basically empty. It was Easter. There was a few people in, and that person, he could have went out from another door at the metro. He could have not seen me drop in the wallet. He could have not even wanted to return it to me. So whoever that person is, I need to find him, because he single-handedly made this airway trip possible. Seriously, this might have been my actual guardian angel that I've met in person. As my friend says, I would have turned around and then a car would pass by and he would disappear. I don't know. I felt like I saw an angel. But long story short, I run to the embassy. Security eventually lets me in. They've basically shut off for the holidays. It was empty. Everyone has went home, and there was just a lady there with the desk holding my passport, basically giving me my visa in the actual last possible day, in the last possible hour. The way that this happened is nothing short of a miracle, honestly. I don't even want to think about it anymore because I get so stressed just thinking about it. But we made it. I got the passport. I'm going to America, and it is a packed schedule. So one of the days we're meeting with the big YouTubers. We have a whole day of workshops, of networking, of mentorship. We have one day which I'm meeting with Ohanian, again, a very big Hollywood producer who I've been keeping in touch with for years. And I'll tell you the whole story about how this whole thing happened. And then I have 2 days to basically be in a full tourist mode and see everything to do there is with movies. I was unapologetically tourist. I didn't even care if I was going to be just this guy with his phone taking photos of everything. To me, this was just the absolute incredible, most amazing thing to ever do. So on the 20th of April, I found myself in the airplane on my way to America for the first time ever. Again, I've never flown such a long flight. I've never been to America. And I basically spent the whole flight watching movies. I saw The Shining. I saw Real Pain, which actually I enjoyed quite a lot. And then I fell asleep, if I have to be honest. I fell asleep to A Complete Unknown. Not because it is a bad movie, but because I was just really tired at that point. So no shade towards A Real Unknown. I think it's going to be a great movie when I watch it again. So I made the flight. It was a very nice flight, actually. I don't know. I haven't flown before, so I can't really compare it to anything else. But I arrived in there, and my first impressions are just my eyes were as big as tennis balls. I was just looking around, and it was this world that I've only seen in the movies, and there's palm trees, and I was so at this point almost in shock. I could not believe I'm physically there, especially after me barely getting my visa. But I go there and I'm settling in. I arrived during the day, which was nice, so I could go around a little bit. And to me, the things that I would pay attention to was just the smallest details that no one would really care about who lives there. I would look at the number plates. I would look at the way that the trees look, the school buses, the signs on the street. Like those were the things that stood out to me the most to begin with, because those are all things you see in movies, and it's so different than here in Europe. So I was just, I don't know, maybe people might have thought I was a little bit on something because I was just constantly looking around and zoomed into things. But nonetheless, I got my sleep, and it was time for the real trip to begin. The first real day in America was very packed. I left my hotel room in the morning, and then I spent the entire day visiting film studios, visiting museums, visiting film locations, and I went home late in the evening. But that doesn't matter. What matters is what I actually did. Let me share some of those cool things, and if you're considering to go to America, I already have some recommendations. But what the day started with was going to the Warner Brothers studio tour. I did a little bit of research, and by the sound of it, the Warner Brothers was the studio that has the, hold on, I'm going to make myself a little bit brighter. The Warner Brothers is the studio that is doing the best job at showing a studio lot. Universal seems to be a little bit like a theme park, and Paramount is okay, as far as I know, but Universal is the one that you're supposed to go. Plus, a lot of Warner Brothers movies we all know and love. So I decided to spend about 4 to 5 hours on the Universal Studio Tour. So when you go in there, you walk into this beautiful building, by the way. All the studios, I was surprised, are very close to each other. There's this part in the hills where basically you have Universal, and right next to them, well, relatively speaking, right next to them is Warner Brothers. Then pretty close is the Disney Studios, where I actually went to meet with Seth Ohanian. We're going to get to that. I'm actually so excited to talk about that. I'm sort of skipping past some of that because it's the real good story of the night. But all the studios are really close, and it was just so cool to see the buildings. It was so cool to see all those logos, just to see an office building that says Universal. Just those little small things were so exciting to me. Again, I was absolutely like a puppy in there. But the way it works with the studio tour is that you go there and you enter this basically mini museum waiting room sort of situation where you get to look around while you wait for them to pick you up for the tour. And some of the things that you can see in here, for example, we have Phoebe's guitar from Friends. We have the microphone from the Jazz Singer, the first talkie movie. We have a wall with a lot of history, and it was pretty cool. I was already happy because a lot of those things I have either read about or I have talked about in movies, so in videos for the YouTube channel. So it was really cool to see a lot of those things. And by the way, thank you, Abhoy, for wishing me good luck with the video. You gotta go, but I hope to see you again next time. Thank you for all the chats. Good luck to you. And moving on with the Warner Brothers tour, when you're done with waiting, when they accommodate you, you end up in this a little bit of a private room where there was a bunch of snacks and coffee, and then they take you to a movie theater, essentially, where they play you this video with a bunch of actors and celebrities just talking about all the movies that they have filmed there and showing some of the locations that you're about to see. So that was great to already hype you up. You know, you're feeling like, okay, this is for real. And the best thing about the Warner Brothers tour is that the studio is very much a working studio. That's the thing that absolutely made a huge difference, at least for me, because sometimes you go to places like that. I've been to places like that here in Denmark where it has been a studio, or it's more like a museum now rather than something that is currently working. But in the Warner Brothers lot, things are happening. They are filming movies as we speak. When you're there, some areas of it are closed off because they are currently filming productions. They're filming movies and TV shows, and they're filming huge movies. It's not like things that you don't really care about, but we're talking about large productions with A-list actors and directors. So you really get that feeling of being in the presence of a studio where things are happening. It is not about the history of it. It is about the now. And I'm telling you, it really felt that they're going to be just the most amazing things. Just it's so hard to explain, but I felt like I'm finally in the presence of a space where I've been talking about so long. And as a film fan, it is again something amazing. But anyways, let's move on. I don't want to delve onto that. As Trevor is asking, what's the chance to slip on a set while they're filming at the lot? Funny that you're asking that, but our tour guide made it very clear that the security is insane. He said that at any single moment, you're being watched by multiple people, by multiple cameras at every single moment. This is a great question. He told us a story about someone trying to sneak through the gate of the studio and trying to run away into the studio where some of the director offices are, and he got tackled immediately without actually having security, where you couldn't see any security, but he immediately got tackled because at all times there's people watching and people in all kinds of spaces and rooms, and apparently they found a knife in his backpack. And he also made it very clear, because we'll get to that in a little bit, but we were being driven in this sort of golf cars. And he said, he made it very clear. He made it double, triple clear. He said, do not, at all times, do not even think to leave the golf car unless we have stopped and I have told you we can leave. Because if you do that, you're immediately taken away from the studio and you're being charged with trespassing, and it's a very serious business. He said, do not mess around with this. He told us a story about someone, he was himself doing a tour once, when apparently some guy was constantly asking about Ewan, the TV host, and apparently he kept asking questions about Ewan. Oh, where's Ewan, and where's her studio, and I'm a huge fan. And they finally went too close to her set, and he just jumped from the golf car, and he got a very, very let's say hurtful tackle from the security guard. So we made it it was very much made it clear to us, do not mess around with this. We have someone saying greetings from Finland. So cool to hear about your trip to America. Thank you so much. I have to admit, I love Finland. I have, you may know, a very good friend from Finland, and I look forward to see some more Finnish movies. I love Finland. Honestly, Finland is a great country. So we finally make our way to begin the studio tour. And you can see this is me in the golf car, and these are some of those smaller golf cars. And you basically get driven around the set. And I have to say, as much as you think this studio is big, it is 10 times bigger. Seriously, it is huge. It is massive. It is the size probably of my hometown. It is huge. I cannot possibly express to you how huge the space is. And the first place or sort of area that they take you to is the neighborhood area. They have their own neighborhoods. They have a bunch of streets and a bunch of houses that look in all kinds of ways, and they can be customized to look in any other way. And think of, they've probably filmed hundreds and hundreds of movies and TV shows in there. Dexter was filmed a lot of there. Jurassic Park, the original one, was filmed in one of the areas in there. Aquaman. Those are just some of the ones that come on the top of my head. Some of the Batman, the Christopher Nolan Batman was filmed in there. Just a lot of great productions. So the tour guide would take you around, and he would constantly point to things and just drop you, yeah, this was filmed here, this was filmed there. A lot of houses, a lot of streets with cars that are all for the production. They're all for the movies. And sometimes, as far as I understood, some actors or directors could just sleep in those houses because it's basically an empty neighborhood if they choose to do that. We went into some of the houses, and as you can see, they're basically decked out for production. They're completely empty on the inside, and the roofs are gone, so they can rig all the lighting. And the cool thing is that they could be 1000% customized. The exterior decor of the houses would be basically peeled off like sticker. They could just peel off the bricks, and if they want to put a yellow brick, they could just basically tape it like stickers. Or if they want it to be wooden exterior, they could just do that. And it's basically just peelable stickers that look really, really realistic in real life. And the neighborhood felt huge. There were definitely a few solid blocks in there. They even have their own New York section. The original Spider-Man was filmed in this one to the right. A lot of films from France were filmed in there. And they went to great lengths to make this fake New York feel like authentic New York. They looked at actual fire hydrants and those emergency stairways. They would often go to New York and look at auctions or basically try to buy authentic things from New York to put it in LA and have their fake New York look realistic. So a lot of Friends, if they're fans of the Friends show, have been filmed in there, and a lot of New York movies. And then it just kept going. It just kept going. Again, easily an hour you can lose just walking around their fake neighborhood. It is incredible. We then got to a fun little section of the tour, and I think it might be just because our tour guide was pretty fun. He wanted to give us a pretty good experience, but he took us to somewhere where they don't usually take tours. But what you see here to the left is the area of the Warner Brothers set or lot where all the big directors, they have their offices in there. So that was very cool to see. And it sounds so stupid to say, but I don't know. At least I geeked out a lot. And then what you see to the right is he went to a very special parking spot where this is, for example, Tom Cruise's parking spot. Then he showed us George Clooney's parking place. So I don't know if that's necessarily something that a lot of people would care about, but it is kind of cool. I mean, again, I am unapologetically tourist. I don't care how silly it is. I loved seeing everything. So we got to see the parking spaces for Tom Cruise. And then we finally moved a little bit closer to the actual stage area. And what you see here to the left, I made sure to double check, is the actual tower that you see in the Warner Brothers intro before every movie. I'm sure you recognize it. It was weirdly exciting to see it in person. I don't know, that's the tower. That is the tower that you see in every Warner Brothers intro. And then to the right, this picture does not do it justice, but each of those orange buildings is a stage. And those stages are absolutely massive. You can fit easily an airplane inside. They're huge. And they have over 30 of those. They have over 30 stages. Massive, massive, huge, huge stages. And that is actually where they build sets and they do a lot of that actual production. It is in fact so big that they have their own fire department. You can see here on the left, they have their own fire department because it almost classifies as its own city. It is that big. And then on the right, you can see behind me is just a bunch of trucks with gear, a bunch of basically caravans where the actors would hang out between takes. I think there were easily at least 50 of those. So you could very much tell that things are happening. It is very much a working set. In fact, there were rumors that as we were right there, Harrison Ford was filming something. And as far as I understood, Margot Robbie was also filming something at the Warner Brothers set as we were having the tour. It is actually not unheard of for you to pass by an actual filming of something. We didn't get lucky like that, but I didn't really mind too much. Honestly, I'm more there for the actual buildings. This is the famous Stage 24. If there are any fans of the Friends show, this is where they filmed every single episode of Friends. It is where they filmed the reunion. And you can kind of see on the right, just to get an idea of how big those buildings are, this is just the door, which you could easily have a double-decker bus drive by without any problem. This is actually a bit for myself, but I got to see where Conan O'Brien filmed his show on this Stage 15, and you may not know much about me, but one thing you should know, I am just a massive Conan O'Brien fan. You can also see this is Conan O'Brien stuff. I basically worship the guy. So just seeing the stage in which he filmed his show was very cool for me personally. Nothing to do with movies, but come on, I have to have something for myself, right? Cannot all be about movies. And we continued to actually drive inside one of the stages. And this is where they build the actual sets. And again, it is a working studio. They were in the process of building sets for movies and TV shows. And we could see the way they do the woodwork. We could see how they built the fake walls. And this place was huge by any means of the word huge. I think he said that well over a few thousand people work there just for the set building part. Just for building sets, they have a few thousand people working there, which that's a lot of people. After we were done with looking around the stages and the fake neighborhoods and basically the outside part of the sets, then you get taken to basically a mini museum, I would say. In here, when you enter, you get to see a lot of the original drawings for those old Warner Brothers cartoons. And I don't know if you've seen some of my videos. I hope you have. Otherwise, why would you even be here? But a lot of my sense of humor has its origins in those very silly old Warner Brothers cartoons. You know, basically the joke of you going over a cliff and you're floating in the air, and only when you look down, then you fall down, because that's how physics works. This sort of really stupid and silly visual humor just speaks to me on a spiritual level. And a lot of that is because of the old Warner Brothers cartoons. So it was very cool to see some of those original drawings. It was nice to see a little bit of that. After all, I am a little bit of a film history nerd. Then we got a really cool demo in which they showed us a clip from Gravity, and it was all about sound. And they played us this clip of Gravity where they first played it to us with just the dialogue. Then they played it with only the sound effects. Then they played it with only the soundtrack. And they put all of them together. And it was very, very cool to hear it on this amazing sound system and basically see how they're mixing it. And apparently, fun fact, the drum that you can hear on the soundtrack in this scene in particular is the heartbeat of the actress that is in the scene. So that was cool, fun. Then, of course, is it even possible to go to Warner Brothers without seeing a bunch of Friends stuff? I think not. I would say a good 20% of the whole experience is dedicated to Friends. And I mean, love or hate the show, you have to admit it is pretty impressive how much impact it's made, and the lifespan this show has is incredible. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that if you're a Friends fan, you definitely have a lot to do in the Warner Brothers set. I got to sit on the couch. Then we got to go to basically a little Friends experience where they have some of the sets, they have some of the original costumes, they have a nice little gift shop. And of course, I bought a bunch of stuff for my girlfriend who loves Friends. And then it keeps going. You can easily spend half a day at least on the Warner Brothers set. It keeps going. What happened afterwards is that after the whole Friends experience and everything like that, you are taken to yet another exhibition / museum experience. And this one was about evenly divided between Harry Potter, Superman, and Batman. It was very cool to see some of the original Batman costumes. They had a lot of the original Batman vehicles. I would say the car from here on the right from the latest Batman movie was really, really cool to see in person. You could see a lot of the Superman capes. If you like Superman, if you like Batman, that was a lot of that in there. And by the way, again, this is a discussion. Please ask questions, interrupt me, roast me, just anything you want. It is awesome to get this back and forth. I love doing this, and I'm trying to skip a little bit past all the Warner Brothers stuff because I want to get to the most exciting part of the story, which is meeting Seth Ohanian. I cannot. I still get excited just thinking about it. And after the Batman and Superman stuff, there's a lot of Harry Potter stuff. If you're curious, it turns out that I'm Slytherin. No, not Slytherin, Slytherin. Yeah, Slytherin. Yeah. And unexpected cool part after you're done with the tour is that you get to hold a real Oscar. And the thing that surprised me the most about holding a real Oscar, which was from the Lord of the Rings, is how heavy it is. Seriously. I don't know how heavy you might think it is, but you basically grab it and it's a little bit like, wow, like this is way heavier than you would think. So yeah, I got to hold an Oscar, which was very cool. And I definitely was very much wishing I could just run away with it, because why not, right? Surely nothing would go wrong. Speaking of Oscars, after the whole Warner Brothers experience, in which I spent basically 4 to 5 hours, I took an Uber and then I drove to the older part of Los Angeles to go to the Academy Museum, where there was a lot to see because, come on, how can I not go to the Academy Museum? For someone, half of what I do is about film history. And as you see, a lot of the things that I saw, I have made videos about. And it was so cool to see things that I've talked about. Sometimes I've spent more than a month researching something, and just to see those things in person was just awesome. But the Academy Museum is actually very cool. You enter, and then you have this huge fancy room with a bunch of Oscars. It's very nicely presented. And the one here in particular is the Oscar that James Cameron won for Titanic, which is very cool. If I have to be honest, wouldn't you want to keep your Oscar at home? I don't know, maybe people are not as shallow as me. I would keep it at home. I mean, come on, if you won an Oscar, would you not keep it at home? I don't know. I would basically have it in front of the front door, so you cannot possibly walk into the house without seeing the Oscar. Yeah, there's a reason why I will not win an Oscar. And after that, there's a lot of film history. I had a very good time diving into everything to do with film history. I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but it is worth it to see all the things with film history. This typing machine here that you see is the one that they used to type Psycho on. Very cool. I'm sure everybody cares about that. And I was actually lucky enough that just a few days after I arrived, there was a brand new exposition about Bong Joon-ho experience, as they call it, where they displayed some of his original storyboards, some of his concept arts, for Parasite, for Mother, and a bunch of his older films. And it was really cool to see. And I was particularly impressed with how much of his own storyboards he's drawing. He drew those himself. That's very cool. That's definitely a director with vision. And if you are a fan of his, there's absolutely worth it to go there. And then, yes, this this is a bit bittersweet for me. Oh, okay, well, the ruby slippers. Oh, the ruby slippers. There's this video I did about 3 months ago. It is about the entire history of the ruby slippers, which are from The Wizard of Oz, and they recently became the most expensive piece of film memorabilia in the world. They got sold for $28 million. And the story about why they're the most expensive piece of film memorabilia is really cool. It's really exciting. It's filled with deception, with luck, with lies, with greed, with all those exciting elements. And I spent a month and a half researching this story. I swear this is the most amount I have ever spent working on a video. At some point, at many points, I was so fed up with it. I just wanted to say, screw it. It's way too much work, this project. But I was convinced it would be my biggest video ever. Oh, little did I know, this video just, let's just say no one really cares. Which is fair enough. I personally think it's a very cool story. But such is life. I spent so much time thinking about those shoes, and I never thought I would see them in person. And just a few months after that, to actually see the original pair in person, felt really cool. It was almost like seeing an old friend. And I swear I might have been the person who has the most information about those shoes in that building. I don't want to think about those shoes again. But it was very cool to see things that I've made videos about in person. Another thing is actually this poster. I made a video about Alice Guy Blaché, the first woman film director, about 2 years ago. And she is still relatively unknown. I would say she's too underappreciated. She's too unknown. And that was the whole story. And it was nice. It was nice to see poster about her in there. I just looked at it and I was like, good on you, good on you. Someone says dreams come true. They do. They really do. And you're right here with me watching. I would say that is another dream that came true because I genuinely thought no one would be here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. And it's going to get more exciting. I'm trying to get past the boring stuff, but I think they're exciting. I just don't want to bore you. After that, again, you have a large exhibition with so much film memorabilia. You have so much film history in there. This is, for example, from Ex Machina here on the left. Then we have some of the Terminator original concept arts. There's just so much to see. It is an entire building. I think it was 4 or maybe 5 floors, just packed, just fully packed with film memorabilia. There was also a lot of original costumes and props from movies. Of course, we have The Matrix, we have Marvel stuff from Interstellar, Star Wars. There's just a lot. I'm not going to bore you with all the details, just a lot to see. And you even have more interesting modern artifacts. Like this on the left is Ryan Gosling's costume from his Oscar performance last year. And I mean, let's be honest, who doesn't have a crush on Ryan Gosling? Come on, just me? Let's be honest. Everyone has a crush on Ryan Gosling. And then you get to hang out on the beautiful rooftop, look over Los Angeles, and have a good time. With that being said, my whole day was spent just looking and thinking and talking about everything to do with movies, a lot of film history, easily 8-9 hours just looking at stuff. Which then leads me to me being a tourist. Yeah, I just looked at this slide and I was like, what am I showing here? Yeah, I just wanted to make it clear that I was such a tourist. My activity that I actually planned in my schedule was to go to a grocery store and just look at the grocery store. It was fun. That's how I have fun. But enough of that. Enough of my hanging out, film history, studio tour. Now we're getting to the juicy bit, at least in my opinion, because we get to the man, the myth, the legend, Seth Ohanian. Now, if you don't know about Seth Ohanian, he is the producer of this little movie known Sinners. You may or may have not heard about. Also known as the biggest movie in the world right now, breaking all kinds of records. This incredible film. Yes, I if you haven't seen Sinners, by the way, go watch Sinners. But I don't think I need to tell you that. It is absolutely incredible movie. So I just so happened to catch Seth at one of the highlights of his career. And Seth is a big Hollywood producer. Some of his movies, of course, we have Sinners, we have the Creed franchise, we have Judas and the Black Messiah, Oscar-winning film, a bunch of documentaries, a bunch of stuff for Marvel, and then, of course, the computer screen movies Missing and Searching. So Seth, despite the fact that currently is at the busiest time of his year, likely, and you just wait to hear about his everyday life right now. But he was kind enough to invite me to his office in the Disney lot to grab lunch together. I cannot believe this will remain surreal no matter what happens. I cannot believe that he took the time off his day to have me over for lunch. Now you may be wondering, why would this big-time Hollywood producer invite a random guy from Bulgaria to have a lunch? Well, let me tell you the story. Shortly, I promise. Basically, 2 years ago, I made a video with Seth in which I interviewed him for a video. I was working on a YouTube video about the computer screen movies, which is basically movies that take place entirely on a desktop, on a computer screen. And my favorite computer screen movie was the one that he made, called Searching. It is a great movie, and it is a great computer screen movie. So at the time, I had, I think, a few hundred subscribers, no more than 600 subscribers. I was getting, if I was lucky, a few hundred views per video. I was absolutely not offering any sort of audience or any sort of publicity. So there was nothing I could offer to Seth, no incentive for him to do an interview with me. But despite the fact, I'm just a little bit like that, I just reached out to him anyways, and I said, hey, I would love to interview you. This is my YouTube channel. I don't really have much to offer in terms of audience or performance or really anything. But what I can promise is that I will do my best to make a good video. I will really try to make a good video and do justice to this interview. For whatever reason, Seth agreed. And we were supposed to talk for about 25 minutes, but we ended up talking for over an hour. It was the most just natural, organic conversation I could have possibly imagined. We felt like buddies, honestly, and he was so much the opposite of the stereotypical Hollywood executive that I had in my mind, because at that point, I had never met or spoken to anyone in the industry, let alone an actual big-time Oscar-winning producer and writer and director even. So we spoke for an hour. We had a great time at the interview. He was just incredibly nice. I cannot stress enough how nice he is. Again, when he has nothing to gain from me. I'm just a random guy. But despite that, he agreed to do the interview. We did it. It was great. I made the video that you see here, and then he liked it. He liked it quite a bit by the sound of it. And I remember that he even told me that he sent it around in the studio to some marketing people and things like that. And I was just thinking, wow, like for him to go out of his way to show this little video that I made with him to people in the studio. Again, I am in Denmark. I come from Bulgaria, Hollywood, and the studio system is the furthest thing away from me. So just to have this little interaction was absolutely surreal. So that happened in January 2023, basically 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago. And since then, we kind of kept in touch. He would like my stuff on Instagram. I would like his stuff on Instagram. He would actually hit me up every now and then if he liked the video, and he just kept watching my videos and I kept watching his movies, and we would just every now and then we would exchange a few messages on Instagram. Not like friends or best friends or anything like that, but we did kept each other on each other's radars. And this year, a few months ago, we were talking after the Oscars on Instagram. We were talking something about the Oscars. And he wrote me a message. He said, oh, you know what? If you ever come to LA, let me know. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, first of all, I freaked out because that is a wild message to get. Maybe not for a lot of people, but for me, that was absolutely wild. But I also thought to myself, yeah, right. Like I would come to LA. Have you seen the tickets? But seriously, I've always wanted to go to LA, as I said. It's been in my plans for many, many years. I just knew for a fact that it was not going to be anytime soon. But yeah, he said, if you ever come to LA, let me know. Literally 2 months after that, or actually the month after, this whole thing happens. The Spotter Studio contest, those YouTubers pick me out of the hundreds of applications, and the prize, the workshop, is in Los Angeles. All expenses paid trip. I mean, what are the odds? Seriously, what are the odds? So I hit him up on Instagram and I'm saying, you're not going to believe this, but I'm actually coming to Los Angeles. And those are the dates that I'll be there. If you have even a minute, I would love just to say hi and, just greet each other in person. He says immediately, dude, I don't know if he said dude, but he says, let's go grab a lunch and come over to my office at the Disney lot in Burbank. And I'm happy to have a lunch with you, meet, say hi, let's hang out for a little bit. Which just think of all the levels of this trip. Not only is it going to America for the first time, but out of everywhere in America, it's going to Los Angeles for the first time. It is also seeing all those things for the first time. It is meeting those YouTubers that we'll get to for the first time. And then also having a lunch with this producer who is currently having the biggest movie in the world in his office. I mean, what are the odds of all of that happening? Seriously, I would not stop thinking this is surreal. But with that being said, we arranged it, I booked it with his assistant, and I was set to meet Steph after everything that happened. And I went in the morning to the actual Disney studio lot, where it is actually a lot of the original studio buildings were. It's where they animated a lot of the classic Disney movies. It's where the HQ is. It is a wonderful space. And there it is. The man, the myth, the legend, Seth Ohanian. Now, between me and you, Seth, if you're watching, stop watching at this point. I was breaking it. I was so nervous. And I usually don't get nervous. I don't know why. I get excited. I don't really get nervous. But for this, I walk into the office and his assistant greets me. Oh, someone's saying, joining late, but it's been very cool to see your channel blow up lately. So well deserved. I've been subscribed for a while and you get better with every video. Thank you so much. What a nice comment. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining. Awesome. Thank you so much. So I walk into the Disney studio. I find my way to the building in which he has his office. So basically the way it works is that Seth has a production company called Proximity Media, and it is co-founded with him and Ryan, the director of Sinners. So the two of them are great partners, writer, director, producer. They work on this together. So their office is in the Disney studios. So I walk there. I swear, my legs are shaking. I don't know what happened to me. Seriously, I don't get nervous like that. And I wasn't even nervous before I got there. But as soon as I walked into the office, I was just like, oh. His assistant greets me. Hi, Toni, nice to see you. Please wait and I'll come pick you up when Seth is ready for you. It's almost like I felt like I was at the dentist, you just wait in the couch and you're just looking around. But man, was I nervous. Oh, I cannot even tell you how nervous I was. Because I don't know, it's just nerve-wracking to meet someone you've spoken to for years but never really met in person. But also, again, he's just this big producer. But anyways, his assistant comes and he goes like, all right, Toni, Seth is ready to see you. And he takes me to his office. And I'm like shaking at this point, breaking it, absolutely sweating bullets. And I walk into the door and there is Seth on his desk working. And he just says, Toni, nice to see you. It's like I'm seeing a celebrity. And then at that exact moment, I immediately stopped being nervous. It's like, oh, wait, this is Seth. He's like the nicest guy ever. All the nerves just disappeared. And we greeted each other. And he was in the middle of just doing so many things. And we'll get to that, because if you think you've ever been busy, you have never been Seth Ohanian after the premiere of Sinners. We'll get to that. But we small talk for a little bit. It's so nice to see you, and it really felt like we knew each other. It felt very organic, very natural, and that is all because he's just incredible, down to earth human being. He's just so incredibly approachable and friendly. So I felt okay. So he takes me to lunch, to the canteen in there, and it's basically a buffet. You have to pick whatever you want, and I'm a little bit still like this, and I wasn't even hungry, so I just picked like 2 pieces of lettuce. I didn't even eat it. I just could not eat. I'm reading Seth Ohanian. I don't want to eat. But we go back to his office, where we could sit, the 2 of us, and talk more calmly with each other. And on the way, he would just meet colleagues and producers. He would introduce me to them, and this would not stop being so incredibly surreal, just having him introduce me to, not going to say to who, but just producers, big names in the industry. And he would just, Seth is the best hype man there is. He would just go like, yeah, this is Toni, he makes these amazing videos, and I would just be like, stop it. So we go to his office, and I just straight up say like, Seth, I have a million questions for you. And we start talking. First of all, we talked a little bit about Sinners, because this movie is absolutely surpassing every record, every expectation. It is absolutely a lightning in a bottle, this movie. It is just doing incredible numbers, both in the box office, but also with the audience and with the critics. It debuted like 100 on Rotten Tomatoes. This is just incredible success. By far one of the biggest movies of the year. So we talk a little bit about Sinners. Of course, I ask him some behind the scenes moments. I am sorry, someone sent me a message. Never mind. So I'm looking around, and basically his office is just, let's just say, creative chaos. And the thing that really stood out to me is that he would basically multitask like no one I have ever seen multitask. It was just so cool to see someone in the absolute top level of the industry operate. He would get a notification or an email or a call basically every 30 seconds, and he would ignore most of them, but he would, if it was something really important, he would just say like, sorry, I just really have to reply very quick about this. He would reply very quickly, and then he would go back to talking with me. And just the amount of publicity he's been doing, the amount of planning, the amount of decision making, interviews. He just went down from an interview, now he's booked for another interview, then he has to send materials to another interview, he's talking to this studio, he's just heard back from that studio. It was just, I got just anxious just looking at this. I was like, man, wow, seriously. And I felt a little bit guilty. I was just thinking, you could use your time probably in 100 more valuable ways than talking to me. So I was at this point also a little bit like, all right, I'll leave whenever you need me to leave, because clearly you're super busy. But despite of that, we had a very nice conversation. We talked a lot about the industry. I was very curious about the inner workings of the industry. We talked about how it works. We talked about his projects, what he's up to. He asked me also questions about the YouTube thing and what I'm trying to do with it, some of the projects that I'm working on. And it was just very, very inspiring to see someone operate on this super high level, but at the same time be incredibly grounded. It was very, very inspiring, very, very nice to meet him and see that he's just as nice in person as he was when we first met. And I would never think that we would meet in person, but life is funny sometimes. Life is funny, and you never really know what's going to happen, So after the meeting, I walked around in the Disney studio set lot. They have also a lot of those same sound stages like in Warner Brothers. They have their canteen, all kinds of offices. They have animation buildings, post-production, camera buildings, all kinds of stuff. It was very beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful space. I would say purely visually, it was definitely a very nice, relaxing environment. It is basically what you would think Disney would feel like to work at, because all of those are also office spaces. Afterwards, again, I continued my unapologetic tourist trip. I went to, of course, the Hollywood sign. How can you go there and not go to the Hollywood sign? I found apparently the best spot to see it. And the picture on the right, I thought it was really funny because I met two girls that were visiting from South Korea, and they were also taking photos. I was also taking photos. And since I was alone, we basically grouped up and I take photos of them. They took photos of me. And I told one of them, I was like, I wonder what is like the best spot in here to take the photo with the sign in the background. And she just pointed towards where this picture on the right is. And she was like, just look at the grass. Just look at the grass, because that is clearly the best spot to take the photo because everyone is in there. And I thought that was very funny. So if you go there, look for the grass. That's how you know where the best spot to take the photos are. And then I continued. I went to the Walk of Fame. I would say, if I have to be honest, slightly underwhelming. I would not say it's my favorite spot in Los Angeles. It's just super touristy. It's very chaotic. It's very messy. It's just people all around. So I basically went and spent about 20 minutes in there. I tried to find some of the stars that I would think are cool. I saw Shrek. This one in the middle is Martin Scorsese. And then I went out of my way to see the one on the right, which is Buster Keaton. Again, absolute legend. One day I'll make a video about him. I'm almost a bit nervous, because if I make a video about Buster Keaton, it has to be really good, because I really, really, really like everything he did for film back in the day. So I walked these stars of Hollywood, but what I thought was much better than the Walk of Fame was actually the cement sort of handprint area in front of the Chinese theater. This on the right is the Chinese theater. It is right there. It is next to the Dolby Theater where they host the Oscars. And basically the entire space in front of the Chinese theater, it's the handprints and shoe prints and signatures of people from the industry, actors, directors, writers, producers. And I really think it is much better than the Walk of Fame, because it is a lot more personal. You actually see the way they decided to make the handprints and the way they decided to write their name and the date with their own, font. No, not a font, handwriting. And some have also tried to do some more fun things. Like, for example, I think Daniel Radcliffe had a wand, the Harry Potter wand, shape in there. Marilyn Monroe had an earring, I think. So if you go there, sure, the Walk of Fame is cool and everything, but the Chinese theater handprint area is so much better. I spent a good amount of time in there. It's fun to walk around and try to see who you can find. Here we can see Dean Martin, Tom Hanks, James Cameron. Who do we have? Ryan Gosling, of course. One more time. Who does not have a crush on Ryan Gosling? Come on, seriously. Oh, someone reminded me. The t-shirt, of course. I almost forgot. Seth, he was very nice also to gift me I don't know if you can see, a Sinners t-shirt that was given to some of the exclusive previews of the movie. And it is very cool. I don't know if you can see. We have a frame, and then on the back, well, I'll just show you. Very, very cool. Look at this exclusive t-shirt. And not just one, but two. This one is also very interesting. It's long sleeve. Very cool. At the time, you couldn't buy those. I don't know if they did like a limited edition or something. Very cool. So this is my very cool Sinners merch. Thank you, Seth. Back to the touristy bits. I went to all the Chinese theater, handprints. That was very cool. And then I went home. Again, I was exhausted. That was the second day, basically 12, 13 hours outside doing touristy things. And now we're done with the Hollywood part of the trip. And now it was time for the YouTube part of the trip, because technically I'm a YouTuber now. Believe it or not, I personally cannot believe it, but I'm a YouTuber. It is my full-time job. It is what I do. It's what I've always tried to do. Been trying to make YouTube work. Oh man, for 10 years at least. I've been working on Tony's Film Club for 3 years. It never really took any sort of traction until the past half a year, basically. So we're just now very early, just in the beginning of this thing happening. But I showed up to the hotel of the event where it was supposed to take place, and look at this. They made me feel special. Such an influencer experience. They had some nice stuff waiting for me, a very nice note. This hat that says that I make hit videos. So if you think my videos are bad, I have a hat that says I make hit videos, so it must be true. They're not bad, they're hit. But yeah, they treated me very nice. I afterwards went to Venice Beach. I went to the pier there in Santa Monica, but who cares about that? We're not here for that, so I'm going to skip past all those things. Except if you ever go to Venice Beach, right at the sea, there's this bird that runs very, very funnily. I have a video of it. Maybe I'll post it on Instagram. Just look for that. But anyways, now we're getting to the YouTube stuff, because I need to take my stuff even more seriously. I need to make this happen. So the next day, it was a full day of a mentorship, networking, a mini conference basically, and it took place in this place in Venice called the Lighthouse Studios. And I have to be honest, it felt like I was, I don't know, like a kid in a candy store. It is basically this entire building which has the sole purpose of YouTubers making YouTube videos. The basement of it just has studios. It has a podcast studio. It has a bunch of YouTube sets. And if you remember, you just have your monthly membership in there. You go, you record, everything is set up for you. You just press a button, and then when you're done, the videos just automatically show up on your membership account. And I feel like, oh my God, like those people are living 10, 15 years in the future. Like I would love for something like this to be available in Denmark, but it's a small country. The industry is still sort of catching up in here, but it was very cool to see the real potential of YouTube on a world's level. Obviously the biggest YouTubers work there, they live there, but it was amazing. It was an amazing space. It was just beautiful, packed with gear, packed with people that do this. And that's one of the best parts, is that every single person in there is some sort of a content creator or involved with content. So you would walk around and you'd be like, hey, what's up? What you do? Yeah. And suddenly it's like someone with 1.5 million subscribers. Then I talked to someone else, just like grabbing a coffee together. I've never seen them or heard of them before. And then it just came up like they're someone with 5-6 million subscribers. And you just feel like you could just throw a rock and it will land to someone with hundreds of thousands and millions of subscribers. And just being in that environment and seeing how much they collaborate with each other, how much they help each other. So, the rising tides just lift all the boats. It was just awesome. I would really want something like this in Denmark. I've been actually reaching out to YouTubers here, starting to make a little bit of connections, but for the longest time, I've been absolutely on my own. I don't really have many friends who do things like that, and I need that. I would love to talk with people about YouTube to help each other, and hopefully that's happening. Hopefully that's happening. But we went there. We got to see the space. We got to see a little bit of Tor, and then I met the legends themselves, Colin and Samir. Again, they're probably the top experts in the YouTube creator space. They're incredibly respected. I mean, if you go on their YouTube channel, one of their latest videos is just interviewing Mr. Beast. Before that, it's interviewing Mark Zuckerberg. Before that, it's interviewing the CEO of Snapchat. They're just incredibly knowledgeable. They've been doing YouTube for almost 2 decades, and they know their stuff. They really know their stuff. And again, since I've been watching them for years, just being able to see their studio in person and just speak to each other and say hi was awesome. But the really cool part was that they looked at my channel. They had it open on a tablet in front of them. This is Colin on the left, basically drawing over my thumbnails. And we spent half an hour talking about my channel. They went over my thumbnails, they went over my titles, they went over my videos, and they just gave me advice. It was literally just giving me advice, talking about what I could do better, talking about the strategy that I could utilize, talking about what could be the future of my channel. And the the craziest thing is that a lot of those things would probably be not some groundbreaking information, because I've been watching their channel, I've been reading about YouTube, I've been really trying to make this happen for years. But just to hear it just seems obvious the moment you hear it. You just realize, oh my God, why did I not think of that first? Like, it's so obvious now that you said. But those 30 minutes that I spent with Colin and Samir, I feel like they would exponentially speed the growth of the channel, because from now on, I'm starting to implement those techniques or strategies that they advised me on and see what happens. And the cool thing is that it was recorded. There's a recording of the entire session. You could definitely see me geek out and be starstruck. I don't know if they'll do a video about it. I think they will. And I don't know. And it is not just me. It is a combination probably of all the other YouTubers that they mentored, because again, we were 9 people from around the world that won. And then they mentored a bunch of us, and maybe they'll make a video about it. So that would be very cool. That would be very cool if a video shows up at some point. And in addition to them, I also got mentorship from the other experts who were there. Again, incredibly knowledgeable people, super. It was so nice to see someone take YouTube just as serious as me. Again, I've been so alone in here. I try to talk to people, but I don't know, it's hard to find people who are just as interested in something as you. But it felt so validating to meet someone that speaks your language, sort of to say. And I felt at home, I felt validated, I felt inspired, I felt educated, I felt all the feelings there is to feel. And after the personal mentorship part of the day, then there was a talk, an open panel with them and the other experts. There was a Q&A session. We got to all ask questions. We got to discuss a lot of things, and it was awesome. I really feel like in 3 hours, I've learned more than I've learned in the past year. And on top of the things that are actually actionable that I can do now with my content going forward, it also really sort of switched something in my brain to take YouTube a little bit more serious. Not that I haven't been taking it serious now, but to take it even more serious as a job. I mean, YouTube is a job, and I treat it as a job, but I'm still a little bit maybe you'll see from the videos, I'm a little bit amateur by design. I don't have a problem if a shot is a bit overexposed, or I like things to be a little bit amateur, and I will continue to be like that. Like every time there's a title, there's a text, there's a graphic in the video, every time they're hand drawn by me, and very often they look really bad. But I like that. I like that personal touch. I like the style. So I will keep that. But at the same time, I am trying to really, really take it serious now. Someone is asking, what was your video idea thumbnail that won the competition? Someone is paying attention. That is a very good question. Let me think. Okay, I will not say exactly what the idea is because I will make it. But the thing is that it is a video that will take a long time to make. It is actually quite a heavy lift project, but involves me visiting a few different places, and it has something to do with me being in different costumes, and it has something to do with different time periods. I'll leave it at that. But that's a great question. Everyone, feel free to ask. I love it when you ask questions. That's actually great. After the talk with them, it was a social hour where we got to hang out. Here you can see the rest of the winners. There's one person, Trig, who had to leave for China to work on his products. But it was a great group of people, incredibly talented creators. And we still keep in touch, and we have a group chat where we help each other, we share what we've learned. And it was awesome. It was absolutely awesome to meet like-minded people in the same boat with you, and at the same time meet other people who care and who are doing it professionally. You know, just surrounding yourself with people like that, I think it's just incredibly helpful. Let me show you some of the cool stuff that I brought home, and we're wrapping up. But before you leave, there is a giveaway, okay? So stick around to the end if you want to win something, okay? But I'm gonna keep it brief. Let's see some of the cool stuff that I brought home. One thing in particular, hold on. Well, of course, I got a bunch of hats. Here's another one, Press Publish, that's Colin and Samir's brand. Another one, Spotter Studio. Now check this out. Tell me this is not the coolest thing you've seen. I got this from the Academy Museum, and basically it does this. Isn't that cool? Come on, that has to be the coolest thing ever. I'm putting this absolutely, yes, someone loves it. Someone is asking, what was the best part of the trip? That's a great question. What was the best part of the trip? I'd say the people that I met. That includes Seth, that includes the YouTubers, that includes the other winners. It was very nice to meet people that are just on the same wavelength with you. You just don't feel alone when you meet them. You feel inspired, and you feel like you just push each other more. So definitely the people. And one more time for the person who says that they love it. This is actually the first moving picture. This is where moving pictures started. So that's extra cool. I can keep doing that all day. All right, enough of that. Sorry. I got a book that was gifted to me. Someone saying that's amazing. Thank you so much, Simona. For everyone else who cannot probably read the Cyrillic on her name. Yes, yeah, I don't know what you're referring to. That's amazing. If it's this, it's really amazing. Speaking of YouTube, taking it serious, I got a book called Sponsor Magnet by Justin Moore. And I'm not at the level yet where I am getting sponsorships. I've actually gotten a few offers, but it's never really been a product that I want to promote or a brand that I want to associate with. So my reputation, as little as it may be, I would put more value on that. So if I ever promote something, it's something good, I promise. You can quote me on that. I don't want to take a brand deal just for the sake of taking a brand deal. But this book is just, again, part of me trying to take YouTube more serious, try to be more professional about it. I want to be more professional with YouTube. And this book has been worth its weight in gold. I'm reading it right now. I'm trying to apply the strategies from it. It's been absolutely amazing. I've gotten a little Warner Brothers clapper because it looks very cool. Maybe I'll put it in the background. Wouldn't that be cool? Put it somewhere there, maybe next to Colin. That would be very cool. I feel like such a tourist. And I don't even care. Yeah, I actually have a full suitcase of stuff, but I'm not going to bore you with all that. So let's move to the giveaway. Let's give something to someone. And someone just said, Dill said that it's a game-changing book for sure. If you can see the chat, you can see Dill. He is one of the winners. Incredibly nice guy. He just published a video a few days ago. Love his video. I love his style, love his storytelling. Dill, I'm telling you, your channel will be big. You can quote me on that. Before we move to the little giveaway, very exciting, I want to maybe ask, and I want to say something. So this live stream, again, it was because it was such a cool experience and I wanted to share it, but it was also a little bit of testing the waters. One, because I wanted to see if the software works, if you can see me, if you can hear me well. I hope, I don't know, I'll check the recording afterwards. But also to see if this is fun, if this is something that feels good to me and it feels good to you. But for the longest time, maybe in the past 2 years, I've always wanted to do a live show, a weekly live show on top of the regular videos. And I've always imagined it as a 1-hour live stream in which we hang out, and it's basically broken into segments, almost a little bit like a late night show, where we have a segment about maybe the current news, the latest trailers. We have a segment about maybe the videos. I can give you some updates on the progress of whatever video I'm currently working on. We can have a movie recommendation of the week, and maybe the following week we can talk about it. I can invite people to do live interviews, writers, directors, producers on the show, and I'm just envisioning it every Thursday live on the YouTube channel. I'm just thinking if this is something that you may be interested, because I would absolutely love to do that, because currently the videos take quite a while to make. Sometimes it's about a month between uploads, and it just doesn't feel good to be this radio silence until the next upload comes. But with these live streams, we could just hang out for an hour. We can talk about movies. We can talk about anything. You can ask me questions. I can ask you questions, and just hang out for a bit. Would that be something you may be interested in? Maybe just drop me a little emoji if that's the case. And okay, someone said it's a good idea. I'll take that. That's all I needed. So I'm thinking of maybe experimenting for a month with a weekly Thursday live stream where we just get to talk about everything that's going on, movies, chat, back and forth, updates. I will always finish it off with a weekend movie recommendation. Here's the top recommendation for this week. We can watch it and we can talk about it the week after. And I promise I'll do my best to actually bring some people that we can do live interviews with. That would be cool. Some people say it is a good idea. I'll take that, and let's give it a try. With that being said, for all of you who've watched for 1 hour and 45 minutes Oh, I actually planned for this to be an hour long. Wow. Thursday Night Live brought to you by some VPN sponsor. Thursday Night Live. It's like Saturday Night Live, but worse. I love it. So for the people who stuck all the way to the end, 12 people, that is, again, 12 people more than I thought would be. You're absolute legends. Thank you so much. I want to give to one of you either a mug or a notebook. And if you want it, of course, maybe you don't. Whatever you're in the world, either a notebook or a mug, if you want it, maybe you'll be the person that I send it to, of course, for free. All you have to do is just take a photo of this moment right now and send it to me on Instagram as a DM, just a photo, just so I can see that you've watched all the way to the end. Do that. Send me a private message. You don't have to like anything. You don't have to follow anything. It's not about that. It's just to say hi. And let me know if you would like a mug or a notebook. And I will send one of you one of those. Your chances are pretty good, honestly. There's not that many people watching. So do that. You still have time. 10 seconds. Take a photo. Send me a message. You can see my Instagram on screen, or you can click it in the description. Send me a private message. Tomorrow, I will pick one of the people. All right? Do that? Good. With that being said, man, what a trip. What a live stream, first ever live stream. I hope it went okay for you. Thank you so much for hanging out. I will never take for granted the fact that you're watching. I've spent years making videos that were never seen by more than a few dozen people. So just the fact that anyone cared to watch this for an hour is absolutely incredible. It does not get lost on me. And I promise, I am spending every day right now to try and make the best content I can possibly make. I'm currently well into production for the upcoming video. I've interviewed already two very, very interesting people for it. And I just want to take it to the next level. I just want to go all in and see what happens. But you, the people that are watching right now, is the reason why this is so fun. So before we go, one last time. Yes! I'll put this in the background too. Maybe I'll put it in there. If one day I have a studio, I'll just have a background with all kinds of cool stuff in there. Thank you so much. Enjoy your evening, enjoy your day, enjoy your afternoon, wherever in the world you are. And I will see you next Thursday for whatever the next Thursday live show will be. I'll let you know. Thank you so much. Enjoy your night, and I will see you.